So I had a gracious donation from one of my viewers. They had a bunch of old instruments at home, and they said, "You want any of them?" You know, they would donate them. And I took a look at what he had, and this one kind of sparked my interest. I wanted something that didn't work, and so this is broken supposedly, and it is a Heathkit. So we haven't had a Heathkit on the. I have to glue that little label down. It's kind of poking out. We haven't had a Heathkit on the channel yet, I don't believe. When I first started out in electronics, my very, very first official job as an engineer, more of a technician, but as a junior engineer, was working at a lab, and I had some extra money and wanted an oscilloscope. I mean, that was my goal in life, was to have an oscilloscope. And when I finally got a job that paid good money, it was paying $5 an hour, which was a lot of money. And I saved up some money and I bought a Heathkit oscilloscope. It was a dual channel, I think it was 5 megahertz, a dual channel 5 megahertz Heathkit scope. And I really enjoyed putting it together, and then I had an oscilloscope that I could use. This is a frequency counter. It says megahertz, kilohertz. I don't know what the spec is. It's a model IB or 1B, 1102. And I think it's IB. So he also included the manual. Oh man, this is great. So let's move this out of the way. We'll take a look at the manual. All right. If you've ever put together a Heathkit, you know how great their manuals are. It's just every little step along the way tells you what to do. It's too bad that stuff like this doesn't exist anymore, because this was really good at teaching you stuff, right? I mean, yeah, you can do all that book learning, but you know, you need to get your hands dirty and learn how the real world works, how you insert things and break off tabs, and what is pin 1, and how do you figure out what goes where, and yeah, just, you know, stuff that technicians learn, but the engineers sometimes never learn, like flat side or a tab on a transistor, just stuff that I take for granted, but you know, you had to learn it somewhere. And I think you learn a lot from these Heathkits. Look, it even came with a little extender card, so you can work on it. Wow, very cool. All right, so does it actually give the specification? It doesn't even give the specifications for this thing. Let's see. This is how to put it together. Final assembly, calibrate, operation, and application. Let's do 71. Maybe that will say what it does. Count a frequency of 100 meg. Well, at least it does 100 megahertz. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to look it up. It was described to me as the display lights up, but then it doesn't do anything. So let's go ahead and see if we can reproduce that. All right, let's turn the power on here. Turn the power on. Uh-oh. Not doing anything at all. Okay. Well, what's it got in the back? Internal oscillator. Wired for 120. Yeah, it doesn't do anything at all. Maybe that's a good thing. It'll be easier to fix. Yeah, nothing. Okay, well, let's open it up. So here's the inside. Definitely looks Heathkit. PC boards are fairly crude. And whenever you get a piece of Heathkit equipment, you have to realize that this was built by somebody. It wasn't built at the factory, it's built by somebody. And they may have a certain skill set, and you don't know what that skill set is. So it's important to, you know, look for obvious things like craftsmanship. Everything is on a socket, which is nice. They look like pretty crude sockets, but everything is on a socket. There is a fuse way down in there. Since it didn't do anything, maybe we should check that fuse. Here's the power supply board. It's sectioned off. There is a TCO, temperature controlled oven over here, which is really, really nice. And these are going to be hard to work on because I don't have the extender card, which was part of the kit, but no longer exists. It's not included anywhere. So the extender card allowed you to work on these boards in circuit. So we'll have to take a look at that. There's a coax here that brings in the signal. So this is the first board, and this is the this is probably just display driver here. I didn't mention it's a Nixie tube display, so that's why I wanted to get a hold of it, because I love Nixie tubes. So we have to worry about high voltage over in this section, so make sure you don't stick your fingers in the wrong spot. It'll be about 180 volts, 160, 180, something like that over here. So yeah, you don't want to be near that. I don't know exactly how they generate that. They might generate it directly off of the transformer, which maybe makes it even more dangerous. So we'll have to sort that out before we start poking around at this thing. But I think, let me unplug it. And I'll reach down in there to see if I can't see if that fuse is good or bad. Okay. Yeah, fuse is okay. And let's see, this looks like the primary side here. The secondary side looks like it goes out the bottom. So these are the yeah, this is the secondaries of the transformer coming out here. Oh, there's even some little ferrite beads on it. It's interesting. And ferrite bead over here too. And they go back to this board, so these are probably secondaries as well. Yeah. Oh, these are. I think these wires go to the transistors on the back for the power supply. These are the secondaries, so we have red, orange, and green. So we can check for AC voltages there. See if it's actually doing something. See if we're getting power out there. All right. Why don't we just check the secondary voltages, see if we get something through the system. That will tell us something. Okay, I'll turn it on, and we get nothing on those, and we get nothing on those, and we get nothing on those. So makes me suspect the maybe the switch, maybe the power switch feels a little funny. So let's go up to the primary side and see if we get anything on the primary side. Where's the on-off switch? It's this one. Off, on. Okay, it's on. And we have nothing on the primary side. And if I reach down, I should get some voltage on this. What's going on here? Is power cord dead? Yeah. Maybe the power cord's dead. It looks like a homebrew power cord. Okay. Let's take a look at that. It's one of those old school power cords, and it looks like somebody has made their own instead of using a real plug. I don't think that's standard issue. So, yeah, let's see if the power cord's okay. Okay, well, the power cord is obviously dodgy. This is where a power cord would go, and it's not a standard power cord. It's something funny that you're not going to find, I don't think. I don't think that fits the old style. I'm not sure. I'll bring over one, see if it fits. But these wires were brought over, and they just butted up like this. The end of the wire went to the end of the pin, and they were just kind of soldered on, and then a heat shrink was put around it. But they weren't touching. They had broken a long time ago. Or maybe they're broken shipping, I don't know. So yeah, that's not the right way to do things. Let me see if an old school power cord actually does fit that. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about when I say old school. Yeah, this is used in the old HP stuff. And yeah, see, it doesn't fit. It's a different spacing, and it won't. Yeah, this just won't work. So it's some custom thing it's something that Heathkit decided to use, and it's just no longer supported. So I think the best thing to do is just to remove this thing and bring those wires directly inside. I think that would probably be better. We'll keep this in case somebody wants to restore it. But I think for now, the way that it was being done is leaves much to be desired. All right, so I've made a little plate here with 3 holes in it, and I put a grommet on. I've put the cable through the grommet. I've cable tied it, string leaf on the other side, soldered all the connections. I continue to use this, so I have double strain leaf. And I think that will do well. Okay, so let's turn it around and plug it in, and let's see if it does something different now. All right, moment of truth. Let's turn it on. Hey, look at that. It counted a little bit, and then it says 0. I think that's a good sign. Let's do that again. Look at that. Ooh, we get different digits. The Nixies look good. Yeah, looking good. Let's put some megahertz into it. Let's see what it does. Guess this will be okay. Let's see here. Let me turn on my generator, and let me turn up the amplitude a bit just in case it's deaf. And it's not displaying anything. Kilohertz? No. Okay, so now it's got the symptom that he said it did, is it just displays all zeros and it doesn't count. So, all right. So we're back to square one. We have a counter. The power supply is giving enough voltage to light up the Nixies. The Nixies are lighting up. The Nixies are changing values. There's one decimal point that moves when the decimal point doesn't move, but the indicator changes. And yeah, I'll have to go on to the next step. We'll get out the schematic and see what this thing can do.